Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Masterclass Theatre. My name's Dave Guest. I've had the wonderful job of hosting all of the discussions so far and many more to come. We've covered all sorts of topics over the past day and a half, more to come this afternoon. Now, of course, the past couple of years have seen frantic efforts to recruit more staff to the industry. But has recruitment now gone off the boil as an issue? Is the industry still getting to grips with a changing labour market? Has the driver shortage gone away, or is it still here much as it ever was? Well, we have a panel of specialists who are going to explore some of those questions during this session, and of course there'll be a chance for you to ask some questions as well. But I'm going to hand over to Martin Dean, Managing Director of UK Regional Bus. Go ahead. He's going to chair this and take control of things. So Martin, if you take that away.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. So an old boss of mine, he once said to me, it's all about the people. And this session is most definitely all about the people. So you're very welcome. As Dave said, a lot of issues to discuss, the ones that he mentioned, also things like how do we tackle an ageing workforce, how do we become more diverse, and what's going to be the impact of the Employment Rights Bill, or some other things to maybe discuss in this session. So all these topics we've got to talk about. We've got, as Dave said, a great panel with us, so just let me give you a bit of an introduction. So to my immediate right, we've got Karen Flowers, who's the Operations Director of Transport for Realise, which is responsible for apprenticeship training for new recruits across 4 large operators, and developed the Route to Success programme with local authorities to address driver shortage. We have got Sam Wharf, who's the CEO and founder of C9 Recruitment, one of the fastest growing bus and coach recruitment agencies, particularly known for innovative workforce solutions, and developed Attendly, a platform that simplifies compliance and payroll for temporary workforce in the transport industry. Welcome, Sam. Louise Cheeseman, who's a former director of bus at TfL, Managing Director of Whole Trains, and founder and chair of Women in Bus and Coach, and a non-exec of the board of Go Ahead Group. So nice to have a work colleague with me. And is obviously somebody that really champions diversity in the bus and coach sector. So lovely to have you along. And finally, we have Keith McNally, who's the Operations Director of CPT, and he spends a lot of time as Operations Director at the heart of discussions with government and stakeholders on strategic operational issues, which of course includes people. So in terms of just giving some context and background to the discussion that we're going to have, I'm just going to ask each of the panellists that I've just introduced to step up and give us a few minutes on their particular topics of interest in this whole arena of workforce. And that'll start off with Keith. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Martin. So good afternoon, everyone. I've been involved in the industry a long time, and there have been various times when I, as an operator, or others have experienced driver shortages, but I think we went through a phase where it wasn't a massive problem for the industry. And then in the summer of 21, quite a few of our members, bigger members in particular, were coming to us and saying, we've got a driver shortage. We were coming out of COVID, we were ramping up services again, and there was an apparent problem. So as the trade association, we wanted to look and see at what actually was happening. And we started a series of driver shortages, initially just for bus and coach, and then as we moved through, we asked the same questions to get consistent answers, but we separated out some of the data, so you can see as we moved along, we were able to identify that London was a particular problem. But knowing there's a problem and doing something about it are different things, and we talked to our members about initiatives that we could work on together to try and address these driver shortages. So one of the first ones was the Bus and Coach Driver Recruitment Week. We worked with DFT to hold a driver shortage summit, so brought an awful lot of stakeholders together, not just operator representatives, but local authorities, the different agencies, and various parts of government. And we came up with a very long list of actions that various stakeholders could take to try and help. We led a thank you driver campaign on behalf of the industry. And then, was it last year, we introduced a best practice guide. So that was bringing together an awful lot of material, some of which DFT supported us with. They put us in touch with lots of different bodies that could potentially help, and I'll come on to a bit about that in a moment. We referenced resources that we already had, but we also asked our members to contribute good ideas, because as a trade association, it's all about sharing best practice and helping each other. In some areas, obviously, we compete for labour, but in many cases we don't, so we can help each other. Eventually then, something that we had been asking for really since the beginning of this were some changes to legislation that would support the industry. So one was the ability to undertake the off-road modules of the license acquisition test before you get your provisional license. Currently you have to wait for your provisional before you start that process. And the other one was the ability for 18 and 19-year-olds to do anything, really. At the moment, they're restricted to regular services up to 50 kilometres. The DFT consultation actually looked at regular services of any length as opposed to any type of service, but we made very clear prior to that and in our consultation response that we didn't think there was any reason why 18 and 19-year-olds shouldn't be able to do anything. In the meantime, then, operators in many cases were reducing service levels to try and cope with driver shortages, and we can see that shortages went down. But actually, we can see at the end of the graph that in more recent times, they seem to be going up again. And we've currently got a driver shortage survey running, and we'll be publishing the results of that in due course. But if you're an operator, we really encourage you to respond to those driver shortage surveys so we can build an ongoing picture. But I talked about the recruitment and retention best practice guidance, and that was something I just wanted to talk a bit more about during this session. It has three elements to it: recruitment, training, and retention. The recruitment section, a lot of it brings together good ideas that our members were adopting, and things around, you see in some of the pictures, some of the ideas that came forward. So there's a lot of material in there around different things that you can do. That third bullet, Job Centre Plus, the Career Transition Partnership, the Princess Trust. When people retire from the police, there's information about how you can tap into those different resources to try and connect you with people who could potentially become your drivers of the future, and maybe not recruitment sources that you've considered in the past. There's details about pre-employment schemes, and Karen has been involved in some of those. Our regional manager in the north, Andrew, has done a lot of work with various of the authorities to bring those forward. There's information about apprenticeships. It's a concept that beyond engineering has struggled to develop, but Martin, I'm sure, can tell us a little bit about the work that Go Ahead does on apprenticeships. And it's very hard, I think, for operators to develop apprenticeships on their own without being in partnership. So there's information about how to move that forward. There's information about tapping into underrepresented groups, and I think Louise is going to talk more about how we can try and encourage more women to come into the industry. I think it's a huge opportunity that we are still missing. I think things are improving, but there's resource about that in the guide. And then there's information that's more practical around the licensing process, DBS, etc. Then on the training side, a lot of this is material that we offered to members already, but we've brought it into the best practice recruitment and training guide to have everything in one easy to access place for our members. About the information about the license acquisition process, the different funding that's available, and one of the things that we've asked government to do is to simplify the funding arrangements. It's a bit of a postcode lottery at the moment, but there's information about different funding opportunities depending where you are in the country. And there's information about wider training and driver CPC. And then on the retention side, it's all very well being able to recruit the people that you need, but I think we've seen, maybe particularly since COVID, less loyalty. So things that you can do to help to retain good people. And lots of information in the guide about the inclusive employment journey, which was an initiative that we worked on with women in transport. It's also about understanding the issues amongst your workforce, because if you don't know what the issues are, you're not going to know the things that you might need to do to address them. There's information about just how you consider doing things better in terms of workplace culture, working practices. Great ideas about facilities, benefits, discounts that operators offer. And it's not just about large operators that have volume in terms of the number of employees. There are schemes that small operators can tap into, so there's information about that. And then there's always the argument about how important wage rates are, but from working with our members, we know that it is a factor, but there are lots of other factors in there, and it's not just about the hourly or weekly rate. And then information about ongoing training. So if you're not a CPT member, you can just get a feel for what is in the guide on the Bus Centre of Excellence website, but you get all the detail through the CPT website and compliance manual if you are a member. So that is me.
And now I'd like to just hand over to Louise.
Thank you very much. So I was told I had 5 minutes, and I'm not allowed to go over 5 minutes, and I could talk for Great Britain. So I'll try and keep it short, but if you're still here at breakfast time in the morning, I'll come and wake you all up. So my name's Louise Cheeseman. I'm founding chair of Women in Bus and Coach. I take absolutely no credit for the group. It's very much a collective piece of work that we're doing. There's some fantastic directors on the board, and there's some great supporters, men and women. So why are we here? Yes, driver shortages started this off. After COVID, obviously, it's been really well documented that we had this huge driver shortage. And I asked the daft question, why? Because I'd just joined the bus industry from the rail industry, didn't understand why have we got such a driver shortage, and then asked the second daft question, which is how many women work in the industry, and got a frightening answer of 9%. 9% of women, a massive pool of talent untapped. So then we started working on how can we attract more women, but more importantly, how can we make the industry aware of this, that we've got all these people out there that can equally do the role at all levels, and we're not just talking about bus drivers or coach drivers or community transport. We're talking about engineers, we're talking about back office, we're talking about managing directors, we're talking about directors. So we set off on this journey, and it has just mushroomed beyond anything we'd ever have thought at the time when we started, which is wonderful. And the wonderful thing about it is that we have so many male allies who equally want to be part of this journey with us. We can't do this without male allies. This isn't a load of women sitting around a table with a pot of tea talking about how badly women are treated. This is about how we can make tangible change. How can we make a workforce and a workplace that's fit for everybody? And it might be really simple things. At the minute, if you come onto our stand, this is the first year we've displayed at Eurobus, but we're promoting period positivity. Not something people want to talk about, but reality. You know, if we want women to drive buses or to be in the workplace, let's make it a place where women are welcomed and feel welcomed. We also looked at how we can encourage more women to sit on boards. Culture change starts from the top. When I was director of bus for TfL, all the managing directors were white males. That's fine, but equally we need more women at the top to change that culture and to start understanding what it will take to attract more women. The workforce at the minute tells us that the average age of a bus driver is 53. So in 10 years' time, even if our resource pool is returning after COVID, at some point there's going to be all these 53-year-olds all deciding to retire and nobody to replace them. So we need to start thinking as well about that. So Women in Bus and Coach has also introduced a scheme where every year we invite a woman to sit on our board. When I was working in the industry years ago, a board member and a director was alien to me. I had no idea what a board of directors did in a business, not a clue. It was a hidden world. So how can we get women to want to become directors and managing directors if they don't actually know what the job entails? So this year we, after a proper recruitment process, invited a lady to come onto the board, Kerry. We had 44 women applied to sit on our board, and 44 of them equally, we could have appointed any one of them. They were amazing. So that asks the question, you know, if we've got all this talent, why aren't these women sitting on boards? And why aren't they sitting in senior roles? Why aren't they in the very place that can really make change? Kerry is a director. She's not there to make the tea. She's not there to sit in a corner and take the minutes. She's there to make decisions and to actually be a proper director in every way. I could talk for England on what else we've been doing, but what I would say is, you know, the fact that we need more women is a commercial benefit to businesses as well. You can't decarbonise public transport and bring people onto public transport if we don't have bus drivers, if we don't have coach drivers. We need more resources, and Women in Bus and Coach is here to support the industry. So from a commercial point of view, it's got to be a benefit to everybody. You know, everybody here, sat here today, every single one of you can help us. You can be our allies. You can challenge bad behaviour. You can look at policies. You can make sure when you're designing your garages that you've got as many women's toilets as men's toilets, that you design uniforms that work for women that are going through the menopause or they're pregnant. You know, there's so many things that you can think about. Cab design. You know, women can drive buses, but they can't drive buses if they can't reach the pedals. They're equally as good bus drivers as men are. So, you know, if you can just take a moment on a regular basis to review your businesses, review your workplaces, and think about what we can do to really make these workplaces fit for everybody. Our mantra in Women in Bus and Coach is #BetterTogether, because we need to mirror the customers that are out there that are going to use our buses and our coaches and community transport. We can really offer something to the industry, and I'm sure, you know, I won't be around in 10 years' time, I don't think, I'll probably be dead, but anyway, I'm sure that if we can get more women into the industry, it will be a massive benefit to everybody sat here and all our future generations. If you want to come and talk to us about what we're doing and what we can offer, please pop over to our stand. We'd love to talk to you. We've written our first annual report, which documents everything we've done in the first year. And it bowled me over because I couldn't believe how much we'd achieved in the first year. But this is the first year. If this is what we can do in year 1, I can only imagine what year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is going to be like. And we are here to stay. We're not a fad. We're not something that's, you know, here today, gone tomorrow. And we're not a talking shop. We're somebody who can deliver tangible change for the benefit of this industry for everybody. So please pop over and see our stand, have a chat with us, see what you can do to support us and to help all the amazing women and girls that are in the background that could really offer something to our sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise. Definitely in the camp where I hope you won't be dead in 10 years' time. It is interesting because in Go Ahead we've got an initiative at the moment called Go Ahead Women, and actually, you know, probably we thought that we were doing a lot for diversity, but when you actually really concentrate on it and think about some of the things that Louise said, it makes you realise that actually there is a long way to go. And with the Go Ahead Women initiative that we're doing, we're starting to make those strides, but it is worth really concentrating on it because you do start to get results. Right, that's me trying to talk for England now, so I will now pass over to Sam Wolf.
Hello everybody, my name is Sam Wolf, I'm the CEO of C9 Recruitment. We are a very fast growing agency across the UK. And I'm here today to talk about driver perspective and needs. And it's my first time speaking at an event, so let's go. If you want to follow our journey on LinkedIn of what we do, we travel the country, visit operations, even clients we don't work with to learn more about what they're doing, whether it be sustainability, innovation, etc. Scan that QR code there, and you can follow us. So there's many things we could have spoke about today. I didn't want to speak about pay because that's just, everyone knows this. I've got the things that matter most to drivers we speak to, and that's consistency and reliability. We have a lot of occasions where there's shift uncertainty for drivers. You know, they're taken on full time, but then the following week they've got 2 days work, which leaves a sour taste in the driver's mouth. Last minute cancellations, you know, last week alone we had a few drivers that were cancelled their shifts 45 minutes before it started. You know, that means that driver's not going to return to you. That means in the future, when you put a permanent job ad out and this driver wants to go permanent somewhere, they're not going to apply for the job because they've had that bad experience. So treat the agency drivers, I don't like the word agency driver, a driver's a driver, it's your driver. It's under your supervision, direction and control. You know, treat them the same way you do your permanent drivers, and they will become your permanent drivers for no cost. Equal treatment after 12 weeks, again, a common issue. So after 12 weeks, Agency Worker Regulations 2010 dictates that the end hirer has to give the agency driver the same fair treatment as the permanent staff. So you can't just reduce their shifts to save cost here. I know it'd be great if we could, but you'll be putting yourself at risk there. And the risk there is up to £5,000, I believe, in fines, backdating, you know, the months of work that they should have had full-time shifts. So it can be a lot more costly than just letting them have that shift. Safety and compliance, again, time and time again, we see a lot of the time agency driver will be taken on. Yes, they've got the experience, some with 20 years, but every vehicle is different, every route's different, every operator has different policies. You need to induct them in the same way you do your perm drivers, you know. Go through the same training programs. I know it costs more, but what will cost more, you know, having an accident, okay? Who's at risk already? Whose fault was that? You know, a driver is thrown straight into a job straight away on the same day, get in the vehicle, here's the keys, okay? They need to have the same training. They need to. How we stand up for drivers is that we make sure that we fully understand and work with your recruitment team to understand how they recruit their permanent drivers, not just throw volumes and numbers at you. We want to understand how you recruit so we can mould the way that you do. There's no reason why we can't recruit the same caliber as the operator if we can fully understand the requirement with your recruitment team and mimic how they work. Admin, no drivers like doing admin. Not one that I've met, and we've met a lot of drivers. So take away the labour-intensive tasks from them, automate as much as possible. We have done that in-house with our system. We've developed with 7 developers now, and that automates the compliance section, integrates with the DVLA, integrates with the Home Office for right-to-work checks, the timesheet process is all digital, payroll, bookings, and scheduling is done from there, so an operator can push out to our platform and they can book themselves in if they've got the right experience and they've been assessed by that client already. Again, we make sure we fully brief the drivers on specific routes, expectations, procedures, and ensure they're the right fit for that role. You know, some operators, like say a coach operator, might do school runs and private hire, okay, and sometimes they mix it up a bit for the driver. But that driver might not want to do school runs. So we make sure that we fully match that requirement. Next slide. So with fair treatment and consistency in work for drivers and good communication, it does lead to reliable drivers. I know a lot of people will say, you know, some agencies are not reliable drivers, but if we're treating them right and you're treating them right, you know, it's going to work out. They'll become more reliable because they want to come to work. And happy drivers is better retention. You know, our model is, you know, after 12 weeks, take them for free. If they're happy and you're happy, you just take them there now permanent with no fees. You know, the agency margins generally for all agencies is around £2.80 to £3 an hour. So during that 12 weeks, you'll be paying that. You know, your POA rate might be, I don't know, £14 an hour, and your employer liability at the top of that, pensions, holidays, you know, that will dictate the rate. And the agency only makes around £2.80 to £3 an hour. So treat these drivers right for those 12 weeks, make them want to come over, and they will come over. And we see it time and time again. Safe and compliant standard, again, by working with operators to ensure that they're trained properly, going for the right assessment days, induction days, that will lead to a more secure and valued workforce with less risk of accidents. And here's a quote from one of our longest serving drivers. We are on stand 395. Thank you for listening. Spin our charity Wheel of Fortune. We are donating to Zoe's Place, Andy's Man Club, and Women's Aid. You spin, we donate. So any questions? I'm looking forward to hearing them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. I mean, I think the issue about agency drivers is really interesting because there's a lot of churn in the industry, likely under franchising processes which might be coming forward, and the need for agency drivers will be quite strong. So it's very interesting some of the approaches that that you're bringing there. Right. So last and definitely not least, we have got Kyron.
Hello. My name's Karen Flowers and I'm from Realise, and as Martin mentioned at the start, we are a training provider. One of our biggest sectors is indeed transport. So I'm here today to talk you through what we are doing for the transport sector, and in particular how we're helping the operators and also the learners who become bus drivers of the future. We have 2 key programmes that help us support the transport sector. The first programme is our Route to Success course, and the second is our co-delivered apprenticeship. Both courses have the same aim of supporting the industry, but they achieve that in a very different way. As we know, COVID and Brexit played major factors into the driver crisis that I'm sure you've all had the pain of over the last couple of years. And as I say, we're here today to look at how practical intervention can support that. So what we've got on screen is our Route to Success programme, which is essentially targeted at bringing new people into the industry. A lot of the time that's targeted on people that may have never ever thought about a career in the transport sector before. As you can see, the course is delivered over 5 days, and we start off with what we think is potentially the most important part of the course, and that's our myth busting and engagement session on day 1. So as the title says, we do a lot to myth bust. We talk about how the industry isn't full of bad passengers, it's not full of terrible shifts. There are some operators that will let you work part-time. There's also some really great SMEs out there that will work around your childcare arrangements, and so on and so forth. As we move further into the week, you can see it gets a little bit more practical and we get more hands-on. Moving on to the Theory Test Pro, so where the learners really get to see what it's like in terms of practicing for the theory elements of driving. And then they also get hands-on with the vehicle, either in real life or via our innovative engagement sessions, such as virtual reality. We also do lots of innovative engagements to build up a candidate pipeline. Some of you may have seen our Drive This Bus, which actually appeared on television earlier this year. So a huge car park, minimal risk, a bus, come along, drive, see how you find it. So we're building up that excitement, we're building up different ways to get people thinking about a life behind the wheel. By the end of the week, the candidates are in a position to make an informed choice as to whether they do want to continue their journey in the transport sector. One of our key taglines is that we don't push people into the industry. We make sure that our course has given them the core knowledge and skills to decide if they are the right fit for the industry and if the industry is the right fit for them. For those that do wish to continue after the end of day 5, they have 2 options. The first is that we'll work with them to secure an interview with a large employer of their choice. The second is that they can continue to work with us and gain their licence either directly via ourselves in Manchester or via our trusted partners in Yorkshire. And on successful completion of their licence, we'll then work with them again to gain an interview with an operator of choice, whether that be small or large. Essentially, the Route to Success programme is a very good way to give them a real insight into the industry so that they can make that informed decision. And from an operator's perspective, if you're getting people that join you after day 5, you're getting people that know for a fact that career is for them. If you're getting people that join you after they've gained the licence, again, you know for a fact that that career is for them. I then move on to our apprenticeship. So as somebody mentioned earlier, quite an interesting model for the transport sector. So this is our longest standing product. We've been delivering this apprenticeship with the major operators since 2018, it will be now. I'm sure you're probably all aware, if you're familiar with apprenticeships, that one of the biggest challenges can be the 20% off the job training time that they need to achieve. So coming away from their day role to get new knowledge, skills and behaviours for 20% of their working hours. It sounds challenging, but the reality of it is the complete opposite for transport, due to the unique model and the amount of hours up front that a learner achieves whilst getting their licence. On screen here, we've got an example delivery model of what we'd be looking to achieve over a 12-month apprenticeship. So you can see, in actual fact, that before the learners are released to depot, they've roughly achieved a total of 245 hours. That's based on the standard times that the operators are quoting of taking 30 days to get them through licence and post-test training as well. So you can see that breakdown actually then leaves 80 hours, which we deliver as 8 full days. So over the course of the 12-month programme, all you're actually taking them off the road for is 8 full days to come into a classroom with a realised instructor who is an industry expert to get that additional knowledge, skills and behaviour. So when you think about it like that, it's probably a lot more achievable than the 1 day a week that I assume everybody's brain will have initially calculated. One of the other key benefits of the apprenticeship is that we develop these in partnership with each employer that we work with. So it's not an off-the-shelf product. Whichever operator we work with, we get round the table and we look at what's important for that operator and what do they need to get from this programme. So it's a real good opportunity to give that additional learning that's really bespoke to your business. So you might be thinking, how does the apprenticeship support the operator? My short and snappy summary is it's practical and theory-based interventions. It's the chance to give the additional training that you will have not had time for in that upfront period. It's the accountability to ensure that they have regular progress reviews at least every quarter where they can discuss the progress and think about where they want to move with their journey. I think it's a fair comment to say that when a driver leaves the training school, they leave at this highest standard. and naturally they sometimes slip. But by ensuring that you've got monthly interventions, both practical, theory-based and classroom, it helps to keep that level up each month, pushing them back up to that same high standard that they were when they left the school. If you get a driver that gets to month 12 at that same standard when they left the school, you've got a much more chance that they're going to stay in your business and be a high-performing driver. So what have we achieved on both programs? Via our adult education budget course, over 260 people have successfully entered the industry via a large or small operator. We've got a drop-off rate at 18.5%, and what I would add to that is that 13% of those drop out in the first 4 weeks. So they tend to decide the industry is not for them on the apprenticeship route. That's a lot lower than most of the operators tell me who don't have the apprenticeship in place. Most of them are quoting figures closer to that 40 and 50%. And finally, on the apprenticeship, we've had 970 apprentices successfully achieve their level 2 passenger transport qualification, with an additional 30 currently waiting to take their on-point assessment. So we're confident that figure will be at 1,000 by the end of this year. So 2 very different programs, but one key aim to support the industry, to bring new people in, and to also retain those existing staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. And certainly one of the things that in Go Ahead London, exactly what Karen said there about apprenticeships and the attrition rate, that's definitely something that we found in our London operation. Now, I was going to use Chairman's prerogative to have a little bit of discussion with the panellists, but we're running a little bit short on time. No criticism, because it's very difficult to stick to 5 minutes. So I'll hand straight over to Dave, who's just going to run a Q&A session, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions that people have got after those presentations.
Certainly covered a lot of ground there, didn't they? Has anybody got anything that they want to add to what the panellists have been saying? Any questions that you want to put in? Yes, sir. I'll come to you.
Hello. I actually come from the local authority side, but in 2005, after I gave up full-time work, we did some consultancy with the bus industry and with my previous employer, Metro, the passenger transport executive in West Yorkshire. And what we found was that there was a tremendous amount you could achieve if you looked at the diversity of your workforce. For example, in Huddersfield, we found students were resident throughout the year. Foreign students were resident throughout the year. They wanted money to supplement whatever other income they had. And it was possible to devise patterns of work for them, particularly at weekends and in the university vacations, where they could take on jobs that otherwise you'd have to have had interference with your full-time drivers and the patterns of that they could take off. And similarly with women, it amazes me that we have for so long ignored the fact that 50% of the population probably do want jobs. They do want to exercise their minds once they've got past the essential duties of being a parent. And again, we've had family-friendly shifts were introduced in First Huddersfield that worked very, very well at that time. Why they've disappeared since, I'm not quite sure, but you get there in my age profile.
I think actually family-friendly shift patterns is something a few of you touched on there, that Louise, that operators can do these, even SMEs can work a timetable and scheduling around people's commitments. And
actually, I've met some fantastic operators that are really starting to work on that. And the thing for me with, if you want to call them family-friendly, is that it's not just about women. There are men who have commitments at home. They might have elderly parents. They might be single fathers. So Women in Bus and Coach is all about creating a working environment for everybody. So looking at rosters, looking at uniforms, looking at cab design. If we can get that right, it's right for everybody. And that's something we're really passionate about. It isn't all about women. You know, we should have a really great demographic across every bus, coach and community transport sector.
One thing, Louise, that I just wanted to ask you, I've been listening to your presentation. You said you came from the train industry.
Yes.
Is it the same in the train industry, or are they on top of this more in terms of the diversity of the workforce?
No, so interestingly, I was part of Women in Rail when that was in its very embryonic stages in about 2007. And yes, it's further on in rail than bus, but there's still a long way to go. I think the differential is about 33% of the industry are women in rail now, which is an improvement. I think for bus, we've got a long way to go. It's getting better, but I think one of the challenges we have in bus is retention. So we're seeing more women coming through the recruitment process, but unfortunately we're not seeing them all staying, which says to me that, yes, we're doing some great campaigns, we're doing some great recruitment, but when they actually get into the depots, are they seeing a difference? And perhaps not. So that's something we're really needing to work on.
And Keith, that's one thing that came out in your presentation, that graph that you did about it went up and up and up and up, and then it suddenly went down again, which it went down rather than it started to creep up again, which suggests retention is an issue. Is there any research done? Do any of you know any concrete research done on when somebody quits? Does anybody ask them why? What was the reason? What were why do you want to stay with this company? Is that done or is it not done?
Yeah, I mean, we do exit interviews all the time, and there's a whole variety of issues. So it's not one particular thing. I think one of the things that Louise said about, and again, this doesn't necessarily need to be women, but in terms of retention, if you look at when people go into any sort of work environment, there's comfort that people get from having other people that are like them around. And one of the challenges, we're at around about 13-14% in terms of number of women in the workforce. That's still quite a low percentage, and the advantage of getting that number up is that when you start working, you see lots of other people like yourself, and that gives you a little bit of comfort, particularly when you're a new worker. You can all remember it when everyone goes into their first day at school. You look for commonality, so that's really important. And also what Louise said about family friendly is really important rather than just women friendly, because the point about men that might be carers for parents, all that sort of thing, it's trying to sort out rotas around everybody's personal life, not just women, which is obviously important, but everybody else.
And Sam, as a recruitment agent, your organisation presumably is trying to get more females that they can then offer as agency workers. Presumably you're doing that, you're working on that. Yeah,
so we do a lot with kind of programmatic following in job boards, things like that. It's quite expensive, but it'll target cookies, etc. But in terms of retention, a lot of the time it's the flexibility side of things. People have children at home, young children, school runs, they've got to pick the kids up, and there's still a lot of operators that won't provide that. And that's the main issue we find about it.
But as Louise said, that's an issue for a lot of men these days who are caring for families just as much as women are. Any more questions? Yes, I'll come to you first, and then we'll come over there.
Hi, Kirsten Keane, Transport for the North. I was just interested in the Go Ahead Women's Initiative and what is involved in that. Is it mainly towards the recruitment side of things, or is it more about the support and retaining aspect?
So Go Ahead are a great example, but there are lots of other great examples out there for operators. But Go Ahead are having female-only recruitment days. They're trying to have classes, training classes just of women, which is absolutely fantastic. I was very lucky last week to meet a cohort from the London operation, and it was around about 20 women. I have never seen 20 women bus drivers together in a room. And I walked into the mess room, and it was like a breath of fresh air. The energy, the passion, the atmosphere was fantastic. And that's what they're trying to do, is to, as was said earlier, it's that chicken and egg situation. I was the only female guard in 2001 when I joined the railway industry, and walking into a mess room full of men and being the only woman is really daunting. I was fine. I got 3 brothers. I was used to being in a male environment, and I know more about football than most men do anyway. So, but it was hugely daunting. Now that's where we've got to make change, because it's, if we haven't got more women in the environment, women will walk into a mess room full of men and turn around and walk straight out again. So go ahead trialling lots of different things. Some things work, some things don't. But Women in Bus and Coach is encouraging operators to talk together, so sharing best practice, sharing what works, sharing what doesn't work equally. And it's great because people leave their businesses behind and they all sit together in a room as one. And there's no commercial clashes there at all. So it's really great, and that's what we need to be doing more of.
Okay, gentleman here.
Yeah, this question actually is for Karen. And I want to ask you a question there about the recruitment of drivers and the apprenticeship. So you're saying there that the apprenticeship program is for 13 months, I believe?
Yes, that's right.
13 months. So I just want to ask you then, who actually funds that? Is it the employer? Is it the person that's on the program? Or is there some funding available for that?
So more often than not, it's funded via the apprenticeship levy. So as you might be aware, most organisations with a payroll over £3 million will pay in the apprenticeship levy, and then we draw down the funding from the apprenticeship levy. However, if you're not a large organisation with a levy bill, there is also a co-funded model, whereby the government will fund 95% of that qualification and the employer funds the remaining 5%. So it's always completely free to the learners themselves.
Anyone final question before we wrap up? Yeah, if you can make it quite brief, and we'll get a brief answer.
Yep. Hi, panel. It's Alex from Route 1 magazine. Hiring young people into coach and bus has been a perennial issue that we frequently encounter when we speak to operators. A while back, we lit the fire under the issue of the 50-kilometre service restriction on young drivers. And back in April, DFT opened a consultation onto how those restrictions could be changed or amended. I was just wondering if it was worth asking the panel if they wanted to add their voice to this, if there was anything that they felt was worth discussing when it came to those service restrictions. Because there's been calls to drop them entirely. So far, I think the scope is to reduce the restrictions, but I wanted to gauge some opinions on that and see how those restrictions are hurting recruitment across the industry.
Yep.
We are talking to the department about how the government deals with the consultation results, because the consultation was obviously launched under the last government, but it ended under the current government. And the initiatives that we had put forward were supported by the now government when they were in opposition. So we are trying to push that along and make sure that they take it forward in a positive way. There are other things that the new government is looking at around workforce, so they may or may not need to bring various things together, but yeah, we are certainly continuing to push for the two proposals to be implemented, because we do think that we've got a missed opportunity and a level of unfairness, really, in that the freight sector can use 18 and 19-year-olds for long-distance services, but PSV can't. So, yeah, that needs to be addressed, I think.
There seems to be an inequality. Once again, the time has defeated us, but thank you very much indeed, Martin. Thank you to our panel. I'm sure you've learned loads from that, and thank you to all for attending. Thank you very much indeed.